San Diego, California. Hey, we've got uncontrolled chaos in the cave. We're back to 3 motorcycles. So today I'm going to take the Aprilia out for a ride, but look at this, how to get to it. So a little bit of chaos we've got going on here. We've got Kevin Carrera's beautiful and new to him 2018 Kawasaki ZX-10R. We just released a good video on that, first impressions for him. We got, of course, the Phantom and all his imperial darkness here. And then Tony Thunder as I stylize my 2018 Aprilia Tuono factory. So we're gonna unchaos the garage to get at the Aprilia, which happens to be at the head of the queue here, and go for a bit of a ride. So stand by. Should be a beautiful day. Rocky, you're a great friend. Oh shoot, the camera's on. I don't know if they saw it. Rocky, take the place.
Okay, we're still filming, videoing. We're still videoing. Let's challenge this little camera and go from the shadow to the sun. I just did an intro, but unfortunately, I didn't have the mic lead plugged in. So let's try it again, ladies and gentlemen, shall we? Welcome to just outside the man cave here at Wistful Vistas in beautiful suburban San Diego. We're going to go for a ride on Tony Thunder the Aprilia, the 2017 factory Aprilia Tuono, and we're going to try and do 2 things. Look, that's 2. We're going to try and do 2 things. 2 things we're going to try and do is, number 1, I'm going to try and demonstrate to you, my family and friends, that San Diego really has a soft spot for Aprilia, and I think I can do that. I think I will accomplish that. You'll let me know, I'm sure, in comments. Secondarily, we're going to do the likes and dislikes of this machine. I've done already the long-term ownership costs and reliability issues, 2 separate videos. I invite you to watch them. This one is the likes and dislikes. Do you have to do a likes and dislikes vlog or video when you're reviewing your long-term motorcycle? Yeah. Actually, you do. You do have to do it because it's tradition, Yevtevia. It would indeed upset some vast eternal plan if I did not do the long-term likes and dislikes. So shutting off, finishing the gearing up, and we hit the road. Okay, we've just started up. Tony's in full voice. This is your chance to see me put on gloves. Exciting, eh? The other part about this video that I must let you know about, as I kick the kickstand up and Tony goes into gear with a ka-thunk, is that this is also a continuation video because the other day I was attempting to finish up the trilogy of ownership report on this Tuono. And that trilogy involved ownership costs and reliability issues, and then the modifications that I have done to it over time, and there have been many. So I try to be careful, and that's my neighbor, by the way. And you have to do a likes and dislikes. It's a rule, as I mentioned in the intro to this video. It's a doggone rule, and those who ignore it do so at their peril. So I'm going to do that, and what happened the other day, I rode down to the very appropriately named Aprilia Lane in Solana Beach. Yes, there is an Aprilia Lane. And there is no Ducati lane in the greater San Diego area that I know of. So does that mean San Diego or the greater San Diego County area likes Aprilia, doesn't like Ducati? Clear to the left as we head through the concentration camp. I don't know the answer to that, but you can draw your own conclusions. So what this is a short mission to run out and get a spot to do the likes and dislikes. The other part of the rule is I was going to do the likes and dislikes on the road, which I attempted to do last time, and so what I found out, another little thing, note for GoPro YouTubers, what I discovered, I think what I did wrong is when I stopped to take the photograph of Aprilia Lane, I did not shut off the GoPro app. I just exited out of the GoPro app, went over to the camera, the Apple camera, the iCamera, and took a couple of photos, came back and had blown up and frozen the file that I had recorded on getting there, which of course contained all the 5 likes and 4 dislikes. So that file was wrecked, and you don't know about it. Nah, you don't know about it till you get home, because what would be the fun of that? What would be the fun if you found out, hey, dude, you just wasted 8 minutes of video time because you just blew up that file? There was a little warning thing that would say that, or just a big series of white or red letters saying idiot. But they don't do that. I guess they value their customers and what they think of them too much. So what we're doing, and we are heading across Wistful Vistas, the concentration camp, to a spot that I think will be nice to do a likes and dislikes, because you always have to do that. The other part of the rule is that typically you don't do that on the road. Typically you do that be with a pretty backdrop. So I think there's a spot that I can use as a backdrop, and I'm going to go do that to record the likes and dislikes. And we're going to climb up the hill here. Climbing up the hill past the vineyards at Santa Luz, which have yet to produce a single bottle of wine or grape, for what I know, and heading into the parking lot. There's a little roundabout up there, and it's picturesque, and I think it'll be a nice spot to dismount and do a very quick rendition of 5 likes and dislikes. Should be nobody here today other than maintenance crew and some office staff, and during the coronavirus shutdown, of course, we have to be careful. And isn't that just beautiful? Somebody is in the spot that I wanted to use, but no matter, we're going to put it right here. Aha! All right, let me pop it into neutral, and we'll edit from now on until I'm ready to start going through the backdrop on that. Where are you, neutral? I know you're in there. Ah, there we go. The bane of motorcycle owners everywhere. Where has neutral gone? Always best to find neutral as you roll up to a stop. Okay, we're going to get to the 5 likes and dislikes. Stand by. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends? Momentous journalism this, and here's the list. There are 5 likes and 4 dislikes, and I think you've probably already heard me talk about them already, but there's a view out of the top of our little area here called Santa Luz in the 92127 zip code area of San Diego. So let's step back and let's start with the dislikes, because there are many more things to like about this machine than to dislike about it. Number 1, useless tech. This is a technological marvel, and the later ones from 2019, I believe, or 2020, are even more technologically advanced, in as much as you now have an electronically controlled suspension, something that the 17 models, at least, and 18 so far as I know, do not have. Useless tech I'm talking about is launch control and pit lane control. If you're going to ride this machine on track, then yeah, both of those might be useful. As it stands, as my use of it goes as a strictly street machine, I've used both of those exactly once and wowed myself, and then I can't think of another reason really to use them. So kind of useless tech, guys. The next thing, and it's right up there, and it segues off of that useless tech. They can create those technological marvels in the software and the firmware of the system, but they cannot put a gas gauge on this machine. Aprilia, please, for the love of God, put a gas gauge on it. Almost, well, not almost every other machine. The Phantom doesn't have a gas gauge, but a gas gauge, no gas gauge, and launch control and all the other electronic aids must be some ways, fellas. So just want to mention very quickly on that, the practical outcome of not having a gas gauge is that what you do is, as you sense you're getting low on fuel, you don't wait for the light to come on because you don't know when you're going to roar out onto the countryside. So you tend to fuel it up when you think it needs to be fueled up. And sometimes the results are laughable, especially if you haven't ridden for a while, been on vacation a bit or something. And by that I mean, for instance, I think I went in one day to fill it up and I got a gallon in. So it's just, it would be very nice, very nice. All right, you old timers out there that say, our bike's never had a gas gauge. Okay, well, I grant the point. And yes, there are ways that you can monitor it, but gee, it is 2020. So, next item is, could you find some way to put a little storage in this machine? Now, I've overcome that with one of my modifications from Twisted Throttle, which is this license plate that has a little cubby hole built into it that I can keep my ownership papers and insurance, which you need to have in California anyway for riding on city streets. But there is no place to put nothing, nowhere on this machine. What if you could maybe just hollow this out a little bit more, consider it into the aerodynamic study and design, and put a place where you could at least put your ownership papers, because I would wager that just about anywhere in the world you're going to need ownership papers to ride this on the street. Last item I want to mention, under the dislikes or things that I wish were different from the factory, and I'm looking, sorry for bending down, but I'm looking down here now, and that is 90-degree valve stems. These are the valve stems here. Not too sure if this will show out because I'm using my face to point. Not used to that so much, but that is a inline, and if they just canted it at 90 degrees, it'd be so much easier to get a tire gauge and a tire filler valve into that and get it filled up. The motorcycle tires don't have a lot of volume, and the situation is that when you pop it on and you're trying to hit a precise air measurement, and then you take it off and you think, hey, maybe I just lost a pound there. So you try to fly it. You try to put, if it takes 33 pounds, you put in 34 and whatever, and you pop it off, and you think, well, I probably lost a pound taking the valve cap off. And I will, when these tires wear out, I will put on 90-degree valve stems myself. They're not expensive, and oh, so worth it. I'd consider doing it as new, as a matter of fact. Okay, all right. That's the dislikes. They're very few, as I say. Let's go to the likes. Graphics. These graphics aren't for everyone. There are two models of Tuono. One is the RR Race Replica, and the other is what you see here, the factory. The factory costs a bit more because it has a few upgrades throughout the machine, including the suspension, which is the most notable upgrade. But it also contains these graphics. Now, they're not for everybody, and personally I think the RR looks just about as handsome, but although I don't wear a lot of flashy clothes on my person, I do like the color and the little panache you get with these factory graphics. So I like the graphics. Suspension handling, number 2, and by the way, these aren't necessarily in priority order. These are the way that I thought of them in my mind. This thing handles like a dream. It's just so, it's so intuitive. It carves well. It's got great balance as you're coming up to a stop. For instance, you can roll along at about 2 miles an hour, maintaining balance easily. And then when the light changes, you haven't put your foot down and popped it into neutral or whatever, and have to waste time and think the car behind you is going to run over the top of you when the light changes green. But handling this, it is superb. And subnote to that is I have not had the suspension well and truly sorted yet. I'd like to get that done. I'd like to go see a professional and have them help me get that suspension done. But it is a handling machine. It gets very high marks for that typically in the tests. Electronics, the TFT screen. I love the way that TFT screen goes on the startup. I wish the information part of it were a little bit larger, but it conveys the information very concisely. It's colorful, and it is very easy to use to dial through the various menu items that you have in the electronics, which brings up another and that's the electronics alongside the TFT. You've got a lot of choices in race settings, wheelie, ABS intervention, and various other things, and they work, and they work well. Okay, cruise control. Now, way back in the day when I was writing, if somebody would have said, and when someone once said, hey, you've got cruise control on this machine, I would have said, what do you need cruise control on a motorcycle for? But you do. It's very handy to have. If you're rolling along at highway speeds, the speed variability on a motorcycle is greater than that of a car due to the engine braking. Your speed variability, let's say at 80 miles an hour or so, which I never go, I always do strictly the speed limit, is 5 or 10 miles an hour. You'll look down and you're doing 73 and you go, oh shoot, am I that relaxed on the throttle? And yes, you are. And as you come off the throttle, the bike decelerates more dramatically and rapidly than a car would. So that cruise control, sorry about my hand there, takes the worry out of that highway cruising and takes a lot of fatigue out of maintaining a speed when you're rolling along. It's interesting that it takes so much of the concentration that you need to adapt to other things away, and works quite well. Okay, best for last, probably one of the best for last, and that is the motor sound. This motor, this V4, is Italian opera writ in mechanical terms. It is absolutely gorgeous sounding. You gotta love this thing, the way it sounds. It sounds just awesome, especially when you get it up into the rev range, but even from low. It's not called Tuono or Thunder in Italian for nothing, and it's one of the reasons that I put the Akrapovic exhaust on the back end of it, because it just enhances that beautiful thunderous ovation that you get out of the machine, the motor sound. Typically, this machine since 2014 or whenever it is, when they went from 1 liter to a little over 1.1 liters, gets very high marks, and it always tests high in the liter naked bike capacity class. And one of the things almost all of the journos mention is the motor sound and the motor smoothness, and once you ride one, you'll get it. It's truly remarkable and great fun. So that is 5 likes, 4 dislikes. I know there's a rule that says it has to be 5 and 5, but I couldn't think of a 5th dislike to do on it. So that's the way it is. And probably as I wrap up this little trio of vlogs on the Tuono after almost 3 years, I'm going to let this stand for 3 years. A very big question that one should ask oneself, or you should ask anybody about a machine you're considering buying, is would you buy it again? And my answer would be a resounding yes, absolutely I would buy this thing. again. So that's about as good as an endorsement as I think you could put on it. But it's great fun. It's expensive fun. The Japanese class bikes are a couple $3,000, maybe even a little more in the U.S. Less expensive than this. Are they that much less fun? Well, that's pretty doggone debatable. But being an Aprilia owner and having stepped off one of the other three perennial favorite naked superbikes, which was a BMW S1000R, I can say that I'm a happy camper, and I would certainly buy an Aprilia Tuono again. I would recreate this whole mistake. So that's it. That's the wrap up. If you've got any questions, send me a note. I do try to get to them. This is my hobby. This is what I have fun doing when I have some time, when Mrs. Cooper lets me out doing the household chores. Ask the questions, and I shall endeavor to answer them. So stay healthy, stay safe, and if you're a rider, ride safe out there. Hey, you guys, see you later from Wistful Vistas in beautiful suburban San Diego, California.